the
You want to
wrinkles
see
of
this
their anus
absolutely
than
horrid thing that Bill posted in the NSFW chat?
Show it to me.
He because we were just like talking over voice chat last night, and he was streaming himself making like pixel art animations, and then he
Yeah.
started drawing a naked minion. And then you want to know what's even worse is that he animated that minion splooging.
Oh no! Oh, okay, right. So you know when you've got like a cartoon hose, right? And there's a build up and there's a kink. You see like a herniation, a boobling, and it travels along the length of the hose, and then it, you know, at the end of it. You know, that's what he drew coming out of this minions like off lime schlong. It's rancid.
Bill, we're constantly changing his his nickname on the server. So, because we just have fun with it. We let him know that we're doing it. He's fine. It's all good. So we changed his username to like Bill is banned when he made that. And then he showed us this Minecraft video of this like Russian kid taking advantage of mod powers, and then the actual like owner of the server like he's like fucking with the kid.
Yeah.
And the kid's like screaming his head off. It's so loud.
I mean, given the context of what you were leading me into, I was concerned about who was being taken advantage of and what this kid has got to do with it.
No, so the kid, it's like this little kid. He's a mod on this chill dude's Minecraft server.
Yeah.
And the kid's abusing his mod powers.
Yeah.
By like
Teleporting people around.
Yeah,
and...
just doing all that stuff.
Yeah.
So the guy comes in, invincible, and the kid's like, I guess the kid just doesn't know who this guy is for some reason, despite being a mod on his server. Mm-hmm. So he's like just terrified of this guy who he keeps teleporting in and like taking his stuff and ruining his house and all that stuff.
Yeah.
Just basically fucking with the kid before the kid gets banned.
He's griefing him, yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, he's griefing the griefer.
Yeah.
And then he bans the kid, and the kid's like, he reads the thing like, "You have been IP banned," and then he screams before being cut off, like being removed from chat. It's really funny. And so we changed Bill's name to Bill has been IP banned.
He's been Ip banned.
Yeah.
The sequel to Ip Man, where Ip Man goes on a Minecraft server and breaks someone's house and then he gets banned.
Ip Man 5, Ip banned.
Where Xi Jinping finds his IP and deletes all his social credits, and now he doesn't have enough to play Minecraft.
Ip Man barges into Chairman Mao's Minecraft server and griefs him.
I'd like that. I like the idea that it would be canon that Chairman Mao's got all the hair missing in the middle of his head because someone griefed him and he pulled it out of distress like a fucking cartoon.
Now, if we ever make a Minecraft server, we have to make it like Chairman Mao's Minecraft server.
We have to call it Chairman Mao's Variety Plow.
We call it Chairman Mao's Minecraft server, and then you go into the server and there's absolutely nothing to do with Chairman Mao.
And any rice that you plant withers immediately, and it's full of starlings that attack you.
Yeah.
And we're talking about the Great Leap Forward. If anyone who's interested in the historical context of this bit.
It's a one-sided bit because I'm not even sure what the Great Leap Forward is.
So, you're familiar that Chairman Mao existed, that he was a person.
Yes.
So he was supreme leader of China.
Yes.
And he had an idea that there was going to be a cultural revolution and certain things in the country needed to be fixed overall.
Yeah.
And none of them worked, and it resulted in widespread famine.
Ah, okay, that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, so it was a lot of like killing of intellectuals and like changing, like regulating how farming could be done, but in like a real shit, stupid way. And so just all the crops died. It was so you know how in Australia, how we had like cane beetles that were eating all of the sugarcane or whatever.
Yeah,
and then we brought over
as well.
toads to eat the beetles. And then the toads caused massive problems.
The toads mutated into like a worse species of toad, and they just made more damage than the beetles were doing.
Well, the toads were poisonous. And the thing is, they weren't native to Australia, so no animals recognised them and would be able to go, yes, this warty green thing, this, fucking disgusting king of Duloc, or whatever character John Cleese plays in Shrek 2, this thing is poisonous. I'm not going to eat it. So all these animals would eat the toads and die because they were poisonous and the animals didn't recognize them. And of course, it didn't do anything to fix the problem.
No.
The boys talk about nothing for a while, so I cut them off. Welcome to the first episode of 2021. Hope you have a big funny.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Temporary Uncles podcast. We've just been talking for about 8.5 minutes.
What did you expect? We did a cold open instead of a musical one.
Yeah, and the 8.5 minutes will probably get cut down a bit because there's probably some shit in there that doesn't need to be in there.
Well, there's probably silence. There's probably, I don't know, like a minute or two where I just got lost in your mustache.
A minute or two where you got lost in that minion penis.
Yeah. That's staying in.
Yeah.
The minion penis
is staying in. Anyway, welcome to the Temporary Uncles podcast. I'm Uncle Nick.
And I'm gonna clench my intestinal muscles so hard to keep the minion penis in.
Oh, he's Minion Ben. He's Uncle Ben. He doesn't like saying his own name for some reason. He doesn't like introducing himself on this show.
Because it's funnier.
Yeah.
And Uncle Ben makes you think of rice, and I don't want to be that.
No, it makes me think of Spider-Man. This is the first episode in a while. First episode of 2021.
Yes.
I wanted to record earlier, but we just didn't.
Yeah, but I was probably like too busy mapping all my moles or something.
I'm too busy touching yourself. And so we just haven't done an episode since June. That was the episode that we recorded over Discord. I think now that it's much safer to be out and about and at friends' places and all that stuff in Australia.
Well, yeah, it's just occurred to me, like, I was trying to rack my brain why it was that we hadn't done it in a while, and just because it's us, I assumed it was laziness and that we just couldn't be asked.
No.
But then I remembered that for a while it was illegal to visit each other.
There's the illegality of being able to visit each other was one of the main reasons that I just hadn't been to your place in general.
To visit each other.
Yeah, hadn't been to your place in general, let alone been to your place to record an episode.
Yeah.
I think the last time I've been to your place was New Year's Eve.
It was.
And then before that, I hadn't been to your place for almost half a year.
That is true.
Like probably February even, longer than half a year, probably more than an entire year.
I tried to keep you away, but the Nick-proof barricades finally gave out.
I mean, 2021 was 2020 was a really
fucked.
It's a fucked year, but it's somehow parts of it have just whizzed by. But
yes.
Other parts took a million years to go past, you know? So the fact that I hadn't been to your place in so long, I didn't think it had been that long. I didn't feel like it'd been that long since the last time I've been to your house, but it probably has been, you know? Yet there's heaps of other stuff that throughout the year just felt just went at a snail's pace. The last 2 months were just whizzed past for me, and I was I think it's because I was really busy in those 2 months. But those last 2 months, we could have easily recorded an episode of the show.
But yes,
we were
very
allowed
possibly
to be at each other's places for that.
Yes.
We just didn't. And so yeah, that's the reason why there's been such a long hiatus.
Yeah.
And so we probably won't do too much different. Maybe we'll try to keep these episodes a little more focused. The one major difference between 2021 and previous episodes is that we will actually try to keep a consistent schedule. And by consistent schedule, I just mean we'll do one episode a month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's manageable. And the thing is, now that neither of us are presently enrolled in uni, I think that's more manageable. I don't know.
We just have jobs, so we can work around our job schedules to do that.
Well, yeah, but I think for me, I can't speak for Nicholas here, but when I'm in uni, it feels like there is always something looming over me. It's not like I would go and be like, all right, well, between the hours of here and here, I will do uni work, and then outside of that, I can do life stuff. So the idea of being like, all right, you have a thesis due somewhere in the future. Hey, Ben, do you want to record a podcast? No, because it's somewhere in the next 6 months I've got a thesis to do.
Yeah, so that I guess that's the difference between your uni and what I did at uni, because you're studying psychology.
Yes.
Whereas I studied film.
Yes.
So I didn't have homework. All of my work was at uni. The brief bits of homework I had were like writing a script.
Yeah, 'cause-
or like doing some of the paperwork for my end of year production, which not easy, but it's not the same as writing a thesis.
Yeah, because
And
you're a
half of
big
the work-
stinky stonkus.
And a lot of the work that I did, was just done like on campus, not at home.
Well, yeah, because
So
you
I
had
had-
an almost entirely practical course.
Yeah,
Didn't you?
exactly. I elected not to do the bachelor
Yeah.
because of the fact that it was mainly theory.
Yeah, well, suppose you have to consider, well, how is that going to help you in what you want to do?
Yeah, the bachelor, like, yeah, I made the decision, like, well, 3 years ago, obviously, because if I did the bachelor, I would have finished it last year, I think.
Yes.
Because, so I did the first 2 years where I did the diploma in 2017
Yeah.
and then the advanced diploma in 2018,
Yeah.
which allowed me to skip the first of 3 years with the bachelor. So I will only have to do 2 out of 3 years for the bachelor, the last 2 years.
Okay, right, because
Yeah.
they were transferable credits.
Yeah, exactly. But I didn't want to.
Yeah, that's fair.
I didn't want to spend the time and money to go in, to one, go into the city, and two, like, be taught from a person stuff that I can learn from the internet
Well, absolutely.
in my
yeah.
free time whenever I want to.
Yeah, like, it's the difference between, like, with going into healthcare versus going into, well, most of other things, you need to be sort of reasonably licensed, and qualified, not even in the sense of, hey, can you do the job, but
Yeah.
does the government recognize that you're allowed to? So for me to do what I want to do, I need to have certain pieces of paper that says, right, this person isn't going to actively harm you. Well, as you, if you want to work on a film set, if you can demonstrate that you have the skills to do it,
So you need
you're golden.
You need the physical skills to do stuff.
Yeah.
That's more important than knowing how to do things.
Yeah, if someone says to you, can you edit in After Effects? If you can answer yes to that question, you're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
You don't have to provide
Theor-
certificate of art
you could
effects.
say, theoretically I could, but I've never used After Effects before. Then you're not getting the job. But if you say, yes I can, because I have 2 years experience of editing with After Effects, then you're definitely, you're more likely to get the job.
Well, that's certainly more helpful.
Because
Yeah.
the thing, so being a filmmaker does not require film school.
No.
It can be helpful. It's extremely helpful
Yeah.
for many people. It's like an even, like almost basically an even number of people who are like big prominent filmmakers, big names that everyone knows.
Yeah.
It's like an even number of people in that area who did go to film school and people who didn't.
Yeah.
So people who did, you've got people like George Lucas. He went to film school.
Yeah.
Fucking Martin Scorsese. He went to film school.
He went to learn to make movies.
Yeah, he went to film school. He went to NYU. But I think Francis Ford Coppola also he did a bit of film school, but then he got a job with Roger Corman. Roger Corman was like the man if you wanted to get into indie filmmaking back in the 60s, because he was the guy who got all these young people to make these just bold, brash exploitation films.
The real question is, did Tom Green go to film school?
No, because he was a comedian.
Yes.
Before he was a filmmaker. Before he was a film director. He was a stand-up comedian. So
He was a public
stand-up
nuisance.
comedians, there's like one of the biggest paying jobs you don't need any experience for.
Yeah.
You just have to be funny.
Well, yeah. Well, you have
You
to.
just have to have people who think you're funny.
Well,
you don't
yeah.
even have to be funny. You just need an audience.
You have to have a sizable chunk of luck handed to you directly by God, because
Oh, yeah,
there are all
Charisma.
manner of people that you'll meet that are hilarious who will never be professional comedians
Oh,
just
yeah.
because the industry or whatever.
Like John
hasn't favored
Mulaney
them.
is a comedian not because of any skill that he learned or anything. He just maxed out on charisma when he was born. You know, John Mulaney is where he is today because when they were making him in the character creation system,
They gave him a chin.
They maxed out the charisma levels with John Mulaney. Yeah, and that's what you can say that with like so many good comedians, so like Conan O'Brien, Craig Ferguson. They're like good TV hosts because they have like great charisma and great personal skills. Jimmy Fallon's an example of someone who has
a waste of space.
who has a lot of charisma but nothing else.
I mean,
you know?
I think
The stats from everywhere else in his personality went straight into charisma.
I mean,
nowhere
like
else.
I don't want to be too harsh on
Jimmy Fallon has he can be funny.
Well, because he's evidently quite talented in a lot of areas. Like he has a musical talent, he has an ear for impressions.
Yep.
But I think that late night is something that I don't think he does
it
well.
limits him.
Well, because of on the odd occasion where you get someone who is really interesting on, and I want to hear about them, he will be really animated and slap the desk, and he'll interrupt. And it's like when if Mel Brooks is on, and I want to hear about his experience in World War II.
Yeah.
And Jimmy Fallon's just slapping the desk and going, no, so the Germans, and he's just looking at him, and he's stopping because he's polite. And every moment that Jimmy's making a noise is a moment that Mel isn't.
Yeah, so that's what I was saying. That with Jimmy Fallon and Jimmy Kimmel and James Corden and the late night show hosts that I don't watch.
Yeah,
the show's about them.
Yeah,
with people like Stephen Colbert, Conan O'Brien, Craig Ferguson, even going back to Dick Cavett.
Yeah,
the show is about the guest.
Yeah. I mean, if you have a spectrum, if you imagine that, on the far left of this thing, you have a show where the host is only a facilitator for the guest.
Yeah.
And then on the other end, it's the show is entirely look at me and listen to me, the show. I think Dick is all the way left.
Yeah.
He will be as quiet as he needs to.
He hates talking about himself. Orson Welles, there's a great bit where Orson is talking to him and wants Dick Cavett to talk about Dick Cavett. Yeah. And he's like, no, I refuse. I don't want to. I want to talk about you. And then you have people like James Corden who will interrupt the guest to talk about an anecdote that has something to do with what the guest is talking about,
Yeah,
I mean, it also doesn't help that I just, in general, don't find him to be a pleasant person.
Yeah.
He's just annoying. Yeah. How he got where he is today is a miracle.
Yeah. I remember, Dick was interviewing George Harrison, who's one of my favorite people.
Yeah.
And but they're both two people that possibly don't want to be the instigator of the conversation.
Yeah.
So George is like, I don't really like to talk, and Dick's like, yeah, well, I could sit in a room for weeks and say nothing. I don't crave it. And then they just sort of sit quietly for a minute. But eventually they do get into it. And George has been called the quiet Beatle before, but he's not particularly. He's possibly the pensive Beatle, but there's lots of footage of him.
I think
being
if any
a
of
goof.
if any of them are the quiet Beatle, it's probably Ringo. Ringo's George Harrison's the soft-spoken Beatle, but when he does start talking, he has a lot to say. Yeah. Ringo's the one who was just kind of in the corner a lot, and he just didn't really say much.
No. I suppose he didn't always have the opportunity to speak. There wasn't always a mic in front of him.
The drummer in a time when the drummer wasn't really considered the desirable band member. Everyone wanted to talk. Well, it still is today. Everyone wants to talk to either the lead guitar or the lead vocals.
Well, yeah.
But I don't know. A lot of the days now, I feel like modern music is such a great place for drummers. They're just drumming used to just be the background. Drumming used to just be, they used this to keep time, and every now and then he could show off. But now I've noticed in so much of the music that I listen to that is coming out now, drumming is part of the music. King Gizzard has so much, drumming is integrated into it. Kevin Parker, he is so passionate about the drumming in his music that you can tell he's using it as an instrument and not as something to keep thing. And even a lot of electronic artists, drumming used to just be it would just be there in the background to keep in time for the main focus, which was the synth. But now musicians like Flume, I'll just use Flume as a major example. He will have songs almost built entirely around just using percussive instruments and percussive sounds in weird and wonderful ways, and almost using percussive as a replacement for the synth,
Yeah, I mean, well...
That's just my 2 cents on it.
Well,
there's still great drumming from the earlier days of music. I just think that the attitude towards drumming has improved.
Well, I think that you're making a good point in that for ages and ages, 4/4, we call it common time because it was everywhere, and so just would be the flavor, and that's not particularly interesting. But the thing is, if that's being static, then you can have other things on top of it which are being dynamic. But one credit that I will give to a lot of music that comes out nowadays is that the rhythmic element is often more emphasized in exchange for things that are more simple. Like, for example, Omar played me that little Dicky song the other day, and so you'll have
almost
a loop.
The entire instrumentation for that song is like the drum loop.
Well, yeah, because like if you consider like rap, you have a loop and then you rap on top of it. But because there isn't going to be all kinds of it's not a harmonically rich thing. There's not all different kinds of chords. A lot of it is about when certain sounds come in and emphasize a line. And the thing is, it's never straight. There's usually things that are swinging. The time's often really fucky. It's really kind of, you have like 8 bars which are really swishy and weird, and that goes the whole way. And I like that. I really enjoy the fact that the timing is funny, because that, so the timing can be dynamic, so other elements can be static. It's like, right, it's not going to change key. We're not going to introduce, a symphony or something, but the timing's going to be odd.
That's why I think you'd be interested in Death Grips. Because Death Grips, not to harp on about it like I have been for the last half a year, I've been getting into listening to Death Grips, and I've listened to a lot of it, and I really enjoy it. And I didn't think I would. But going back and listening to some of the music that I listened to as a teenager, like Pendulum and especially The Prodigy, it makes sense that I'd be interested in something like Death Grips, which is loud and chaotic, but also not just rhythmically, but instrumentally, just so diverse and rich. Like, there's so much going on in one single Death Grips song that some artists can't even put into a whole album, Like, there'll be one song that switches time signatures 5 times and it still sounds like the same song. It's crazy.
I mean, but I would say that those guys are probably the exception to the rule as far as what's coming out.
Pushing it on purpose. They want to make stuff that sounds weird because they don't want to sound like anyone else.
Well, yeah, but I suppose that nowadays, because you've got, more and more people are self-published, more and more people are just intent on releasing something on SoundCloud, Spotify, what have you. They don't have to worry about other people liking their music in order for it to be heard at all.
Yeah.
Whereas previously, it was either you played it in a pub or it got on the radio. But now you can make stuff for your own enjoyment, even if you don't want to be a professional musician, and just put it out there.
That's the best thing about modern times, is that it's so, like, anyone can be an artist now.
Yeah.
Which is both, it's both a good thing and a bad thing. Because it's a good thing because we have an unprecedented amount of talented people who wouldn't have been able to get their stuff out through the traditional channels.
Yeah.
Like people like Death Grips, who are self-published. No record label would touch them.
Yeah.
And they tried to get through a record label and they hated it. So now they're self-published.
Yeah.
Same with like King Gizzard. They're entirely self-published as well. And there's heaps of music that wouldn't be where it is at the moment without being self-published.
Yeah.
So and then there's heaps of people who then would go on to the traditional channels like radio and big. And I mean, streaming, I guess, is considered traditional now. It's like part of the big record label stuff. There are people who started off on just YouTube and SoundCloud and all that stuff who have then gone on to become big. And they're still like, some of them stay self-published and then some of them sign with a record label. Like Lil Nas X is a perfect example of someone who just started off putting something out on the internet and became huge. Because he made Old Town Road, and that song blew up like crazy. That was just him. Like, he just made that song, and then he made a million remixes of it as well.
Yeah.
Like the one that became popular, which is the one that with Billy Ray Cyrus. That wasn't even the first version of the song. He just had the song that's just Lil Nas X by himself singing it, and then there was a version with Billy Ray Cyrus in it, and that's the one that blew up.
Yeah.
But because it's like, credit where it's due. It's not a bad song. It's short, which is it doesn't overstay its welcome, and it's different because it's like this mixture of hip hop and country that manages to mesh, like instead of being offhanded. And I think the Billy Ray Cyrus version of the song is the best version because his vocals add like a certain muskiness to it, like a certain country
Musk.
I couldn't, like, dustiness, you know what I mean?
I can smell that he hasn't washed his beard.
Musky's probably not the word to use, but you know what I mean, right? It adds a certain country element to the song.
It's got
that Lil Nas X couldn't just have. You know?
Undercarriage.
Anyway, but not only in music, like movies are being made that way too. There's heaps of people who wouldn't have been able to make movies the traditional way that are just putting them out on the internet.
Yeah.
Like one of the biggest hits of last year was a movie shot on a Zoom call. That movie like wouldn't have been made 5 years ago. Granted, it helps that it's the specific time period that we lived in when that movie was made that made it so popular.
Yeah.
But that kind of movie, just a 50-minute movie shot by a bunch of people on Zoom.
Was it good or was it like unfriended?
Good. No, it was good. So that's the best part of it, is that it actually ended up being a good movie. I've seen it. It's good. It's called Host. It's on Shudder if anyone wants to see it.
Yeah.
And it's only 50 minutes. It's like basically the length of a Zoom call.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what I enjoy is when there is something that is, you know, gimmicky and definable that is also quality. Like for
yeah,
like, you know,
like they didn't just do it for the sake of say, hey, we made a movie on Zoom.
Yeah.
Like they did it because they had an idea, which was a group of friends go onto a Zoom call and host a seance.
Yeah.
With like a professional, quote unquote professional seance person, and then, you know, hell breaks loose. But they didn't just do it so that, oh, we can't film together, let's do it over Zoom. They used the software to their advantage and made the thing so that so they used virtual backgrounds and face filters and people cutting out and their internet shutting down and like all these things that can only happen during a Zoom call and can't happen in a normal movie. They used the software to their advantage. Even just the fact that it is as short as it is comes from the fact that they filmed it in a Zoom call, you know?
Well, that's very much necessity being the mother of invention.
Like, I love those kind of films, like small independent filmmakers using what they have and using it to the best that they can.
Yeah.
Like, that's where so many great filmmakers come from, you know? Christopher Nolan, his first movie was just him with a black and white camera and a bunch of friends. Same with Robert Rodriguez. He just made a movie on nothing, like down in Mexico.
Yeah.
And he funded it through being like a guinea pig in this scientific experiment.
Oh, really?
Yeah. The book Rebel Without a Crew is so good because it's like a diary of his time writing the movie while he's in this facility. He's just testing out like a form of medication. It didn't really do anything to him.
Yeah, like because when you test medicine, usually you'll do it on like some human tissue in a petri dish, and then you'll do it on you know, rats and mice.
It's like a group of, I think,
and then you get to human trials.
Yeah, I think the human trial, he was part of a group. He was there for 30 days, and it was like a miserable time in his life, other than the fact that he wrote the script to his first feature film there in that facility. That's like the thing that kept him sane, obviously.
Yeah, well, I suppose that if your entire, you know, month or whatever is just sitting around and being observed to see if you know, have heart palpitations or anal leakage because you took, you know, you knew from Pfizer, and then you go and you might as well write a movie.
Yeah, exactly. Well, he did that specifically because he knew that. Like, he obviously planned the fact that he could write the movie in those 30 days.
Yeah.
And then by the end of it, he would get enough money to fund this small film that he wanted to make.
Okay.
You know? Because he knew that he'd make it with, like, actors who weren't actors, just people he knew. Mm-hmm. Locations that he knew he'd be able to get access to for free.
Yeah.
And then, like, the money would be spent on, like, props. And like the few stunts that they could do, you know, and then and obviously most of the money was spent on film.
Yeah,
that's where most of the budget goes with a lot of these small, no budget feature films. So, and you say like $7,000 sounds like a lot of money to a normal person, or like a person like you or me who doesn't have a lot of money in their bank account.
Yeah,
$7,000 is a lot, But most of that $7,000 is spent on the actual physical film. So films like those can get made for cheap now because all you need to do is buy a camera.
Yeah, like consider
You can film a movie on a phone now.
Yes. So like Holy Grail,
Yeah.
which was considered to be a really low budget, made for nothing film, was made for $400,000.
Yeah, that's TV budget. That show was made on money that could have been spent making a season of the show, I think. So it wasn't necessarily no budget, it was low budget. No budget is things like Following and El Mariachi, movies that are shot for $7,000.
Yeah, I mean, like the reason
that's
that
micro budget.
yeah,
I
like
think
the
Holy
the
Grail
gag in
is-
the film with the coconuts is because they couldn't afford horses.
But they managed but again, they used their limitation to their advantage and made it a
Absolutely,
fun gag.
That was, it was hilarious. And also the fact that, so they had access to one castle.
Yeah.
And it was a castle that was privately owned because none of the ones that were, part of the royal trust or whoever owns the historical castles, they wouldn't allow Python to come around and be silly with their historical artifacts. So it was someone who owned a private castle and they shot it from a bunch of different angles and dressed rooms up differently to make it look like multiple ones.
Yeah, that's where Gilliam comes in, because Gilliam, I think, because the movie was directed
Both Terrys co-directed.
So Gilliam and Jones co-directed the movie, and I think Gilliam is the reason why a lot of the low-budget stuff ended up going to their advantage. Because he knew how to do stuff like that. He still knows how to shoot huge movies on a shoestring budget.
Yeah.
He like got his biggest lesson from making Brazil, right? Which because the studio absolutely fucked him over with that.
Well, that just sounds like Gilliam's film career is, just the
Gilliam's
studio.
film career is basically Gilliam versus the studios. Honestly, the biggest fuckery that happened with a film of his wasn't Brazil. It was The Brothers Grimm, a movie that was basically taken from him. A movie that he didn't even really want to do in the first place.
Right.
But a movie that was then taken from him and re-edited, and he had no say.
Yeah.
So that's not even like, even with Brazil, at least he got final cut at the end.
Yeah.
He fought against the studio and won. With Brothers Grimm, he fought against the studio and lost. But yeah, with Terry Jones, his major thing with it was the acting. I think Terry Jones, he directed The People, and Terry Gilliam directed The Silly.
Very possibly. Like, I think that they basically would sort of tap each other in and out. Like, they would go and they would do a spell and then they would get sick of it and yell at the actors and then swap out.
And I think they did the same thing with Life of Brian.
Well, Brian, I think only Jones directed.
No, I think they co-directed it, but Jones took over a lot more with Brian, especially because they had a bigger budget and could afford to make sets and make the movie like a normal movie.
Possibly. Like, my understanding was that...
So if Jones is the sole... Because I can't remember if it is actually just Jones who did it, but if it was Jones...
Yeah.
Like, Jones's influence was the fact that Life of Brian was a movie made like a movie.
Yeah.
Not a movie made like a bunch of people in the woods with cameras.
Yeah, well, my understanding of the situation is that after Grail, they thought that...
Well, Terry Gilliam would start making his own movies after Grail.
That co-directing was possibly not a good idea. Because the thing is, even though they're in the same troupe... and they basically have the same goal, which is to be silly and make a good movie, they wouldn't always agree. So they would have different ideas about how you should shoot something or how something could be edited, and so it seemed like it was a bit of a too many cooks problem.
Well, yeah, co-directing, it's a very like fine line, It's a very... No, not a fine line. It's a very slippery slope because you've got some directors who will work great from the get-go. But with Terry Jones and Terry Gilliam, they obviously have two very different styles.
Yeah.
But there are directors like the Coen brothers who, because they grew up together, obviously they would have very similar tastes in everything that they do together. That's why a lot of the best duos in directing tend to be siblings.
Well, yeah. Well, they write together as well, don't they?
Exactly. Because the most of the best director duos are siblings because of the fact that they grew up together. So they know each other so well. And then other director duos are people who grew up together in high school. Yeah. But people like Jones and Gilliam who met doing Python and only knew each other for 8 years before making Holy Grail. Yeah. It makes sense that they would have such different tastes and different styles in making things.
Completely.
But people like like obviously you've got the Wachowskis, the Coens, the Safdies. They're brothers, they're siblings. They know what they're doing. But people like Justin Moorhead and Aaron Moorhead and Justin Benson
Right.
are a director duo who aren't brothers, but they've made all their movies together because they grew up making stuff together.
Who is the there's like a duo that behind all like the weird Seth Rogen films? Who does all those? Is that all like Rogen and
Evan Goldberg and Seth Rogen?
That's it, yeah.
Well, they write a lot of the movies together. Some of the movies are directed by Evan Goldberg. Some of the movies are directed by other people.
Yeah.
But Rogen and Goldberg write a lot of stuff together because, again, I think they were high school friends.
Yeah.
That's what Superbad's based on. It's based on... Well, the main characters are called Evan and Seth, aren't they?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, Superbad's like an exaggerated version of their high school days.
So I imagine that
Like Michael Cera's playing a young Evan Goldberg and Jonah Hill's playing a young Seth Rogen.
yeah.
Pretty much.
So I'd imagine that if you have a pair of people who wrote the movie together, that they basically had a long period to suss out what it is that they will agree on and they've basically gone, right, well, the scene will be this, and in order to get it to the point where you could be shooting and actually telling people how to do it, they're probably on the same page because they've produced a product together.
Well, with the Monty Python movies, like they all six of them wrote the movies together.
Well, together in the sense that it all came under the one banner, but typically, so you would have Cleese and Chapman would write together, Jones and Palin would write together, Idle would often write by himself or in collaboration with bits and pieces of other people, and Gilliam he was given cartoons.
Yeah.
So it was all Python, and ultimately they had to agree.
Yeah.
But it wasn't so much. It wasn't six people all contributing.
And there's heaps of stuff that they shot that didn't make it into the movie.
Of course there would.
It would come down to agreeing whether or not the scenes would come together. So I looked it up, and Terry Jones does have sole director credit for Life of Brian.
Yeah.
I think that's because Gilliam made Jabberwocky at the same time.
Oh, okay, right.
Not at the same time, but like Jabberwocky came out, I think, either the same year or the year before. So that's what Gilliam was doing instead of Life of Brian.
Yeah,
obviously,
so he was already
still
thinking
involved in Life of Brian.
Of course, he's in it.
But Life of Brian's a Terry Jones movie, and Jabberwocky is the Gilliam film.
Yeah, he's already wearing a director's hat for a different project. So I imagine that doing both co-directing a Python film and his own one would be too much.
And then the same thing happened with the Meaning of Life, because he made Brazil at the time.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, because I think Meaning of Life, that was...
Like 1980?
83. That was the year after Brazil came out.
Right.
So, he was probably still working on Brazil when they made Meaning of Life.
And is probably the most... difficult to make of all of them, because I think that they basically didn't really know what it was going to be about, and a lot of it's kind of discordant.
Brazil was 85, so Brazil came after Meaning of Life.
Oh, okay.
But Terry Gilliam directed The Crimson Permanent Assurance. He directed that short film that comes before The Meaning of Life, and he directed the "Where's the fish?" scene. That was Gilliam as well.
Oh, okay, great.
Yeah. That's why, I think he... Yeah. Time Bandits, I think, was the one that he was probably still working on when they were making... So he made Time Bandits in 81, Meaning of Life in 83, and then Brazil in 85. So Meaning of Life was, in between two big projects. Yeah. So he was probably still, figuring out Brazil when they were making Meaning of Life.
I would like to make my career going...
You already do that. That's what this podcast is.
I haven't done that once today.
You just did it twice. Oh my god! Don't fart directly into the mic. I have to sit there.
I didn't fart into it. I farted near it.
I'm gonna just stand over here in the background for a lot of the podcast now, and it'll be all echoey.
Wow. So
a lot's happened in between the last episode and now, hasn't it?
Yes. I'm pregnant.
Yeah. I mean, fucking, it's the first week of the year, and the world's already falling apart. Fucking the Capitol building's on fire.
I mean, America is, but we're
Okay, that's what I meant. The first, and there's already a big historical event. You know what I mean? Yeah, Donald Trump has been banned from Facebook and Instagram,
and Twitter.
Has he been banned from Twitter as well? Okay, I've only read the Zuck. I've only read his statement about it. But yeah, like it's the year's not looking that much better than last year. At the very least, we can hope that we won't be stuck indoors all year, and we can go see movies.
Yeah, I mean,
That's one thing that I want to happen this year. I saw
Yeah.
a total of, I can count how many movies I saw in cinemas
left
last
foot.
year. Because I keep a list on my
That's the one that's
letterbox.
only
If
got
anyone
3
wants to
toes.
follow me on letterbox.com/Nick Owens,
If anyone wants to follow me home,
Yeah.
don't.
do.
No.
Yeah, I've got a list of all the movies that I've seen in cinemas. So there's like the first half of the year, I saw quite a few movies. Little Women, 1917, Jojo Rabbit, Stop Making Sense with Ben.
I thought you were telling me off. You were...
No.
Stop.
Underwater, The Grudge, Konosuba, The Lighthouse, Birds of Prey, Colorado Space, Sonic the Hedgehog, Bad Boys for Life, Richard Jewell, Emma, The Invisible Man, My Hero Academia, Heroes Rising, and Bloodshot. Those are all the movies. Those are all the movies that I watched in the first 3 months of the year in cinemas.
Oh.
That's quite a lot. And this was even like before halfway through March. And then lockdown, and then basically this huge gap of nothing from March till November when I watched The New Mutants, Tenet, Archangel, Akira, and Wonder Woman 84.
We watched Hausu.
Not in cinemas.
No, but we watched it from...
We watched it on Discord. So yeah, we watched quite a few movies over Discord, yeah. I want to get that on Blu-ray. I want to get Hausu on Blu-ray.
Yes.
That would be fun.
If you can find, like, the original soundtrack, that'd probably be good.
Ah, a movie soundtrack that I want on vinyl. There we go. Hausu. Or House. It's called House. I don't know. Hausu came into the thing, but the movie, like even in the actual movie itself, they don't say Hausu. He says House.
Does he?
Yeah.
Because I watched the trailer that you
Yeah, he
sent to
says
me.
House.
No, he goes House.
Maybe a bit of a su, but it's like the movie's called House.
Because like in Japanese,
there's
isn't
no-
there like a vowel after every single...
Well, yeah, but so the movie's
Bongus.
title is House. It's not Hausu. There's no katakana or anything like on the screen.
None?
The title's in English.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So even for Japanese audiences, the movie title is in English.
So if you asked Houseman what he calls his film, he would tell you...
He would tell me nothing because he died last year.
Wow. Way to bring it down, Nicholas.
Yeah, no, he did actually. He passed away last year.
Of what?
Of being old, because he was like 90 something.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
It had nothing to do with COVID Actually, it might have.
COVID compilations.
I was going to say complications, not compilations.
Yeah, that's where you were going.
I said complications. So rest in peace, Nobuhiko Obayashi. But let's talk about something that's not death. And talk about the movies that are coming out this year, because I'm very excited for many movies coming out this year, especially 2 movies by a certain man named Zack Snyder.
Oh,
He's got 2 movies coming out this year. Not just any 2 movies, but 2 like big budget blockbusters, both coming to streaming services. But
Zack Snyder, bigger, longer, and uncut.
yeah, well, that's what Justice League is. It's bigger, longer, and uncut, and they've added more to it. So it's
Well, I think that's the longer bit.
It's not just no. So in terms of bigger, longer, and uncut, if we're talking about penises, it's basically a large penis that they've added more foreskin to.
Is that something you want?
As opposed to the to the theatrical cut, which was a teeny tiny circumcised penis.
It's all. It's like a windsock. There's like a big dangly soft. It catches things like small bugs.
Yeah. So a lot has happened between the last episode and now, and one of those big things happening was the Snyder Cut being announced.
Yeah.
I can't remember if it was announced by the time we did the last episode, but even then, many big things have happened since then involving the Snyder Cut, because I think we'll probably get it in cinemas. I hope we get it in cinemas, because I would love to see it on a big IMAX screen to make up for the fact that I saw the theatrical cut on a big IMAX screen.
So the announcement is basically it exists.
No, it's coming out.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
So is it going to be released by the same people that released the original one?
So this one's being released by HBO Max, which is Warner Brothers or Time Warner's streaming service, basically.
Right.
They've got this deal this deal was announced after the Snyder Cut was announced. So the Snyder Cut was announced sometime during last year. It was announced during there was a big event called DC Fandom, and that's when they showed the first trailer for it.
DC Fandom.
Fandom, yes. So it's this virtual
Is there
Comic-Con.
a dome?
Virtual dome.
Oh.
It's called the DC Fandom because it was like a virtual dome. It's a virtual Comic-Con basically for DC specific stuff. It was a very fun.
It was a typo.
It was a very good event. There was heaps of trailers and stuff announced. So that's when we got the Snyder Cut trailer. And so, judging by how other HBO Max movies have been released in Australia, and specifically An American Pickle and The Witches, they got limited theatrical releases and then physical releases.
Yeah.
So hopefully that happens with Zack Snyder's Justice League. I would very much like to own that movie on Blu-ray.
Didn't the witches get sort of told off because the it's like a black family that go and get enslaved by these, you know, terrifying white people on like a southern plantation?
No. That is not at all what happens.
I heard that.
No,
It's like a southern plantation.
It's not a plantation, it's a hotel.
Yeah, but isn't
It's
like
the same movie as the first one, made in the 90s, but the family happens to be black this time. And it's set in America now. That's the difference. There's no cotton picking slave stuff in this movie. Okay?
Wait one cotton picking minute. I'm gonna Google it while you talk about movie.
Like, I haven't seen the movie. Maybe there is weird slave stuff going on in it.
Yeah, you don't know that.
But I didn't hear about any cancelling of the movie, or as you know what I mean by cancelling.
I'm gonna cancel you.
The Twitter version of cancelling, where it doesn't actually cancel something; they just want it to be gone.
I'm gonna cancel you for being a big smell. Okay, so I looked up the witches.
Yeah.
And so there was a controversy about the when they're in like their witch form and they're like gross and ugly. Anne Hathaway has got like 2 fingers as opposed to a whole hand, and there were disability advocates talking about it.
Fuck off. That's what the original movie's like. She's got 2 fingers.
Really? I thought in the original movie she's gross.
In
She
the
looks
original,
like fucking Hugh
in the
Barber who
original
hasn't-
movie, Angelica Houston, when she takes off her magic glove, her like fingers fuse together.
Okay.
And it's the same with their feet. They don't have toes.
Mm.
This is a Roald Dahl invention. It's not a
may well
Robert
have been
Zemeckis thing.
like in the
it's
the
not
novel,
even an
but I don't
ableist
remember it
thing.
in
They're
the-
supposed to be magical creatures. Who cares if they have 2 fingers?
It doesn't matter. Yeah, it's basically just they're
People wanting to be offended by something that they shouldn't be offended about.
yeah, the line is basically that, you know, and or you're saying that having 2 fingers is a gross, having 2 fingers is a yuck. I mean, they're kind
not
of look
supposed to be gross humans. They're supposed to be a mythical creature. So they're not supposed to be like just saying, "Oh, they've got a long hook nose." Are they supposed to be Jewish?
someone could have done.
That's
they
what
could have said
people
that.
say that about the Wicked Witch of the West. They say that she's supposed to be an exaggerated stereotype of Judaism.
I mean,
even though
it was the 30s.
that movie was made before, it was made during the
30s.
second year of World War II. But even then,
Well, anti-Semitism didn't just be invented
but I'm saying,
in World War II.
you know,
It's a long-standing tradition.
but you know what I mean in that the fact that that stereotype of Judaism became much more worldly widespread during World War II. It wasn't just the Americanized anti-Semitism of Hollywood before World War II.
I would disagree that it became more well known after the war. I would say
No,
that
during the war.
I would say that it was basically, you know, rampant anti-Semitism has existed for thousands of years.
And I'm not saying that it wasn't. I'm just saying that in countries that it wasn't really a thing, knew more about it because of the war.
Yeah, but I suppose that the only places that didn't know about were countries that just had no Jews in them.
Yeah. And then countries that then knew about the Jews because of the Nazis and because the Nazis invaded their country.
Yeah, I mean, if you lived in like fucking deepest, darkest Peru and you'd never heard of Jews, then you probably didn't know about it.
Anyway, people like say that the Wicked Witch of the West is anti-Semitic when she's just a fucking magical creature.
Yeah, like I think like a crooked nose.
You could pick apart that kind of shit about literally anything.
Of course, you got like the witches. Oh, they're bald, so like having alopecia is wrong.
Yeah, well, people think that anyway, but people are stupid. People think alopecia is like fucking cancer or something because they're stupid.
Well, yeah, because they associate cancer with the bald.
Yeah, anyway, you could like read into that kind of shit about literally anything.
You could. It's about intent, though.
I've gotten so sick of people reading into things when there isn't, because by being a Zack Snyder fan. People love to read into, because he is one of those filmmakers who doesn't explain shit.
Right.
He leaves doors open. He leaves questions unanswered.
For the purpose of interpretation.
For the purpose of interpretations. He likes his work to be talked about. He's not one of those... And the thing is, that... I think people would be more inclined to accept that kind of filmmaking were he not making big budget feature films featuring lovable comic book characters, right?
Yeah.
But either way, people just love to read into stuff that is obviously not the intent, regardless of ambiguity.
Yeah.
People love to read into him being a white supremacist, or some kind of like Watchmen being some kind of male escapist fantasy or something, or they read into him being a rapist, or all this shit that doesn't actually exist. Him being a misogynist and all that kind of bullshit, or a white supremacist or a racist, is easily debunked by looking at the movies that he's made and seeing how diverse the casts are, and how empowered the female characters are, and how empowered the non-white characters are, and the cast members talking about how lovely it is to work with him, and all the filmmaker friends he has saying that he's a great filmmaker. And yet people will still read into shit that isn't there.
Well, I suppose when you get big enough and there are enough people that are thinking about you, you're going to run the gamut on the spectrum of, I really like him, to he is evil.
You're never gonna please anyone, but there's just this huge group of people who just don't like Zack Snyder for reasons that don't exist.
Yeah, because there are just enough people that have been exposed to Zack Snyder.
No, but like, it's a really just unnecessarily large group of people. Like, he has this huge anti-fan base, bigger than fucking Michael Bay.
Yeah.
And Michael Bay has built a career on people not liking him.
Yeah.
And yet, Zack Snyder, and granted, this big anti-Zack Snyder base is largely focused on Twitter, but somehow, through no fault of his own, Zack Snyder has just managed to make movies that, for some reason, people decide they want to kill him over them.
Yeah.
And they're glad his daughter is dead. And all this horrible shit that people shouldn't be saying about anyone.
Yeah.
And I don't understand it.
Well, okay.
It doesn't come down to, oh, you can't please anyone. It's more than that.
Well, of course.
I don't know why.
Well, because
Because people don't like the Superman movie that he made.
Well, yeah.
That's it. That's the reason.
Consider that he reaches, Zack Snyder is someone who is recognized, or his work is recognized, or his name is recognized by, hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of people, right? In those millions, there are going to be, most of them are probably just going to be like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Then there are going to be some people that have very strong opinions about Zack Snyder. And as a part of that subset, there are going to be people that have very negative opinions and people that have very positive opinions. And in that subset of people that hate him, there are going to be people that are like, oh yeah, well, I went to school with him and he punched me. Oh, and then there are going to be people that go, look, I've read all the Superman comics and I have my personal understanding of the Superman legend, and he did it differently. And that really bothered me. And there's going to be a lot of people like that just by virtue of there being millions of people that know Zack Snyder.
That is actually an opinion that I'm fine with. People going, oh, I'm a big Superman fan and I don't like his interpretation of Superman. That's fine.
Well, that's a normal opinion.
That's a normal opinion. It's these people who have this obsession with finding the smallest hints of bad, of him being a bad person.
Yeah.
They have these obsessions with him being a horrible person. Like, based on little to no evidence.
Yeah, because some of that subset are going to be insane.
Yeah, and that somehow that insane group is comprised mainly of people with huge fan bases. So people with blue check marks on Twitter with thousands of followers happen to just be the 1% of the 1% of the 1% of people who are just absolutely obsessed with hating this man. And so their hatred seeps into their followers.
Yeah.
And so people who hate Zack Snyder for no reason start getting other people to hate Zack Snyder for no reason, who then get more people hating Zack Snyder for no reason.
Yeah.
It's different to the Michael Bay hatred because people hate him for reasons that exist. He's
Yeah.
a misogynist piece of shit who makes bad movies.
Yeah.
He's also made good movies.
Or perhaps there is a correlation between people who have a tendency to spew garbage, and people who are invested in social media and are verified on.
Oh no! There is an absolute correlation between people who spew garbage and people who become famous on the internet. It's almost a Venn diagram. People who spout stupid shit and people who are famous on the internet.
We're talking about multicollinearity.
Yeah.
We're talking about the singularity.
Yeah, the Venn diagram between like people who are people who spout stupid,
People who are idiots.
yeah, pee pee poo poo and poo poo pee pee make a big Venn diagram for pee pee poo 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 pee pee.
People who are fucking idiot penguin.
Anyway, like I don't know why I went on such a long tangent about like people who hate Zack Snyder when, like, I just don't want to focus on them. I want to focus on being excited for his upcoming movie. So we were talking about Justice League, and then we started talking about fucking the Witches for some
Yes.
reason. Why did we start talking about that? Is it
you-
just because I mentioned the movie title?
I think you were talking about films that have come out from HBO Max.
Yeah, films that have come out from HBO Max. So I guess yeah.
So, is the parent company of HBO Max and the people that released the original Justice League the same?
Yeah, Time Warner. And,
Right. Well, they've got egg on their
and
face.
Time Warner is owned by AT&T. AT&T.
It was owned
They-
by ATST.
So AT&T, they bought Time Warner around the time that Justice League was coming out.
Yeah.
And so as the 3 years have gone by and the release the Snyder Cut movement has gotten bigger and bigger, AT&T has noticed, and they're like, there's a demand for this thing. And then the obviously the campaign grew bigger and bigger and bigger until it reached its obvious conclusion, which was either the movie was announced as never happening by an official source, instead of just being a friend of a friend of a friend who knows someone who worked on a movie next door to the filming of Justice League.
Yeah.
That's where most sources come from with DC News. Anyway,
My friend has a cousin who knows someone who gets the coffee for Joss Whedon's PA, and he said,
yeah, that's the source for most Hollywood news about DC movies. So AT&T obviously noticed, and they've got it, and so now the Snyder Cut is being released. But it's not just the Snyder Cut being released. So this isn't just any old director's cut. A director's cut is when a movie is made, and then the studio's like, no, cut off 20 minutes.
Yeah.
And they release their version in cinemas, and then when they re-add those 20 minutes that have been cut off, that's the director's cut.
Yeah.
This isn't a director's cut. Batman v Superman Ultimate Edition is a director's cut. This is a movie where he shot the movie, then they decided no, and they cut off about 3/4 of his movie, so he made basically like a movie that would exceed 2.5 hours, maybe 2 hours 50,
Yeah.
right? Then they're like, no, 2 hours.
Yeah.
And he's like, that's not happening. So they're like, okay, you're gone. And they cut off, not only did they cut that like 3-hour movie to 2 hours, but then they cut 3/4 of those 2 hours and replaced those with stuff shot by Joss Whedon
Yeah.
in like 3 weeks. When the fucking 3.5-hour movie, so so then there would be a 3.5-hour movie that would be the director's cut. So
Yeah.
there's the 2.5. So Zack Snyder planned to release like a 2.5-hour, 2-hour 50-minute movie for theatrical release,
Yeah.
and then a 3.5-hour cut, which would be his director's cut.
That's ridiculous, but go on.
The ultimate cut of Watchmen is about 3 hours and 40 minutes.
Is
Right.
the
That's the
Irishman longer
ultimate
than
cut.
that?
Irishman is 3.5 hours long, but that's a director's cut, and
So what we saw was the director's cut.
yeah, so, because there weren't any cuts made to it for a theatrical release.
Oh.
When the director's like, this is my movie, and it's in cinemas, and they didn't cut off any extra bits, that's the director's cut being released in theaters.
Okay.
The
'Cause
only
it just went to Netflix.
Yeah, the
instead.
only time that the distinction is made between a theatrical cut and a director's cut is when there's a difference.
Yeah.
More often than not, the theatrical cut is the director's cut.
Yeah.
And they don't call it anything else but the movie's title.
Yeah.
They just give the movie director's cut when they actually have changed things for the theatrical cut.
Yeah.
Anyway, so basically like a small sliver of the theatrical cut that was released in 2017 is actually stuff that was shot by Zack Snyder. And even the stuff that was shot by Zack Snyder had been tweaked. The visual effects would have been changed, or the color grading would be different. Sometimes maybe the framing would be changed. He shot the movie in full IMAX ratio.
Yeah.
So they had to crop the top and bottom of the screen anyway. So we're not even getting a full picture on the scenes that he shot. Yeah. So now what's being released is more than a director's cut. He's both restoring his version of the film, and then HBO Max is like, here's a couple more $1 million, shoot some more stuff. You
Really?
get to add a few more scenes to this
Oh,
movie.
okay, right.
Yeah. So not just adding some stuff that he didn't get to do his original additional photography.
Right.
Every movie goes through additional photography, especially a movie as big as Justice League.
Yeah.
Additional photography is just, you didn't get time to shoot this during the main shooting.
Yeah.
Now you have time to either fix certain scenes that you didn't get right in the original shooting, or add some scenes that you didn't get time to or weren't available to shoot.
Yeah.
Like maybe an actor was missing or something like
Yeah.
that. And I think there were some more scenes that he just thought, hey, this is cool. I'm going to add that now. So he did. Because, like, he originally planned was he would get to make Justice League and then Justice League 2.
Yes.
And he had obviously pulled some punches that he would save and throw in Justice League 2.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know if he'll get the chance to release those.
So he's just doing it all now.
So he's just, yeah, he's got all the punches that he's pulled. He's gonna throw them all into this big Justice League movie now,
Well, good
and
luck,
maybe
though.
save a few things here and there for in case he gets to make another movie. Right? But that's what the Snyder Cut is. So that's what Zack Snyder's Justice League is. It's not a director's cut. It's more.
it's not a
better
director's
than.
cut. It's a director's butt.
So this is like a combination of his original vision and then an evolved version of his original vision that has evolved over the last 3 years.
It's a combination noodle
It's a combination
With prawns.
Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
with like one of those little skewers of satay chicken on the top.
I'm at the Pizza Hut. I'm at the Taco Bell. I'm at the combination Pizza Hut and Taco Bell.
No, you're not. You're at my house.
So he's got another movie coming out this year called Army of the Dead, which is like a zombie heist movie. That's
A zombie heist movie.
yeah. So
Do the zombies steal something?
no. So it's a heist. It's basically Ocean's 11 during a zombie apocalypse.
Okay.
But the zombies aren't the heisters. The heisters
They're
is a
dead.
group of like military people.
Yeah.
And they're breaking into Las Vegas. So I think that because there hasn't been a trailer, there hasn't even been like an official synopsis.
Yeah.
There's just been basically what Netflix has told us about the movie.
It's a long Left for Dead mission.
It's well, almost with like 3 times the characters that you play as in Left 4 Dead.
Okay. So
It's
12.
yeah, around about 12. I think yeah, somewhere between like 12 and 15 characters. I think Dave Bautista is like the main character. I think.
There are 6 times as many people in this movie as there are Mario Brothers.
Yes.
I like that.
And so that's coming out on Netflix. I wish that was also coming out in cinemas, but we'll wait and see.
I want to see more of Dave Bautista in movies where he's
Where-
playing a character that isn't just I'm muscle.
Have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
No.
He's really good in that movie.
Oh, he's in that.
He's in there, yeah. He's got a really good role in that movie.
What color is he?
His normal skin color.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And
not
then he's also going to be in Dune, which also comes out this year. Dune, and he's like painted white in that movie. He looks like one of the engineers from Prometheus. The big white dudes who made People.
Yes.
It's
Smooth.
So what else comes out this year? The French Dispatch, new Wes Anderson movie.
Ah.
Yeah, that'll be cool. Do you want to go see that?
Sure. If I like Wes.
Yeah, because I think we saw the Grand Budapest Hotel together.
Yes.
Was that your first Wes Anderson?
Probably.
We should. I want to rewatch all of his movies before the French Dispatch comes out. So if you
I would like
want
to
to
see
join,
his movies.
if you want to join me, we'll make it like
would.
we'll make a day of it. We'll watch all 8 of his movies in one day.
How many of them have Bill Murray in them?
All
All of them.
but his first.
Okay.
Yeah, and the good thing is, all of his his longest movie is an hour and 40 minutes.
Oh, okay.
Like, they're all between an hour 40 and an hour 20. They're all like short movies.
He did the dog one.
Yeah, Isle of Dogs. That was his
Trash
8th movie. So his upcoming one, The French Dispatch, is his 9th movie. I think this is going to be like a longer one for him. I think this one's going to exceed 2 hours.
Oh,
Yeah, because it's like an anthology almost. It's like a movie with a whole bunch of different storylines taking place.
is it in French?
No, but it's in France.
Oh, well, that's not as good.
No, it's yeah, it's got a really stacked cast, and I think it would take another 20 minutes for me to just say who's in the movie. But
I
I'll
don't
just
really
say
wanna
that
listen
I'm
to
very
20 minutes of
excited
you
for
saying
it.
names.
Yes. So I'm very excited for that one.
It's got Jean Dujardin. It's got
Is he in it?
Léa Seydoux. It's got...
Lee Seydoux, she's in it.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I was just naming all the French people. It's got...
Well, she was in the Grand Budapest Hotel as well, so she's in this. So and then we're also getting a new Edgar Wright movie this
really?
year. So like a whole bunch of my favorite directors getting new movies this year. You know, I think we might be getting a new Scorsese. I'm not sure if he's filming his new movie yet.
If he wants to make movies,
He's making another movie with Netflix, and this one stars Leonardo DiCaprio.
he could be talking to you.
But anyway, the new Edgar Wright movie is not going to be a comedy.
Oh, really?
It's going to be a horror movie.
Is it a funny horror?
No, like a horror movie.
Straight horror.
Straight horror movie.
Is Michael Cera in it?
No. Anya Taylor-Joy is in it, and she's one of my favorite actresses. Anya Taylor-Joy.
Who's that?
Have you seen like Split?
Is that the one where a guy's got 1,000 mental
Yeah.
illnesses?
He's got 23 multiple personalities. She's in
I
there.
haven't seen it.
It's good.
Dissociative identity disorder is like a controversial diagnosis in the scientific community.
Yeah. That movie tiptoes around scientific stuff by making it much more of a fantastical thing.
Well, that's fine.
Yeah.
That's
They make it like it's like an evolved version of something that already exists, you know? Like a superpower.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's the same. It's yeah. Anyway,
Because it's one of those things where like there are very few people that have had it, and like the rules that kind of surround what counts as the disorder and what doesn't, and the fact that there are a lot of people that there are a lot of very suggestible people out there. So basically, if you have a clinician that believes in it and goes, you have it, then those symptoms can end up manifesting in the person
Yeah.
if they suggest that they might.
I think
have it.
most of the time when movies portray a character as having multiple personality disorder / dissociative identity disorder, it's to be taken with like a grain of salt.
Yeah.
It's just like, this is a fun thing for a movie. This guy got 2 guys in his head.
Yeah.
You know?
It's just a device that allows plot to happen.
Yeah, it's just a fun thing to do for a movie. And if the movie doesn't present it as like, oh, this is supposed to be an accurate depiction of a real mental illness, that's when it starts getting harmful. But when things like United States of Tara,
Yeah.
that obviously portrays it as a comedic over-exaggeration. Or something like Split, it portrays it as much more of a fantastical thing.
Yeah. But I think in United States of Tara, the bits and pieces that I've seen, it's not like whoops, what did I do? There are real problems in her life that are caused by one of her alters going out and doing something that she fundamentally disagrees with that makes problems for her.
There's the character Crazy Jane in Doom Patrol. She's got multiple personalities living in her head, and each one has a different superpower.
Oh, okay.
And she's also, she's not able to control them.
She's like Ben 10, but
So she's
without
got
the jewelry.
she's got a whole bunch of different people in her heads, and she can't control when they come out, you know?
Yeah.
She doesn't even know if she's the main personality, you know what I mean?
Okay,
it's
yeah.
it's a really interesting kind of thing. It's cool.
So what else do you want to cross off, because we've been talking for an hour and 20
what are
minutes.
some other movies that... I think The Batman's still supposed to come out this year.
The Batman.
And Dune's still
Is
supposed
that
to
the
come
Robert
out.
Pattinson one?
That is. If I go into my watch list and I just filter by movies coming out this year, I'll just do that.
I'm pleased that Robert Pattinson is getting like another go at being an actor, like after
Yeah.
being in Twilight and people being
Another go... not necessarily another go at being an actor, but another go at being in the spotlight, I guess.
Sure.
Because he's had heaps of great roles after Twilight. He's proved himself as an actor with role after movie after movie after movie. There's so many good movies that he's in.
Actually, him and
But-
Kristen Stewart.
Yeah, both of them. But neither of them have had the spotlight that Twilight have given them, again. You
Yeah.
know? Twilight's still the thing. When you say Robert Pattinson, people still think of Twilight.
Yeah.
Batman is an opportunity for him to finally kind of brush off Twilight and be like, hey, another big blockbuster with this guy, and he can prove that he's a good actor this time.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I suppose that, like, with certain series, there are some people that are kind of just, they are the character. When you mention their name, you go, oh yeah, he played that guy. Like, for example, when people say, you know, fucking Andrew Garfield, they might not always go, oh, Spider-Man. You know,
Yeah.
But when people say, you know, Heath Ledger, they go, the Joker.
Yeah.
Because they are. So I suppose when you're like the fourth or so when you're the
At the very least,
third
there'll be
Batman in the last 5 years, that might not be his role.
no, but then then people won't think of him when they think of Batman, but they'll think of Batman when they think of him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? So they're not, you know, when you say Batman, everyone will picture a different person.
Yeah.
But hopefully by the time this movie comes out, when you say Robert Pattinson, people will think of Batman.
Yeah, like I suppose, you know, like the performance.
Like when you think of Christian Bale, you think of Batman. When
Yeah.
you think of Ben Affleck, I think of Batman.
I
don't
think
know.
of like Good Will Hunting.
Yeah, I haven't seen that movie.
It's very good.
When I think of Matt Damon, I think of Jason Bourne. When I think of Ben
Matt
Affleck, I
Damon.
think of Batman. When I think of Christian Bale, actually now I think of Ford v Ferrari.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. And Matt Damon's in that too, but I still think of Jason Bourne when I hear his name.
yeah.
Yeah. So let's list off another bunch. Let's just list off the movies that we're looking forward to this year instead of just talking about them constantly. So Marvel's got a whole bunch of like series coming out as well.
Yeah.
They've got WandaVision, Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and other things that I'm not going to bother talking about. I think the Suicide Squad's still supposed to come out this year. Candyman, that's one I'm looking forward to. It's like a
What is that?
reboot. So Jordan Peele is producing this reboot of Candyman. Candyman's one of my favorite horror movies from the 90s.
Okay.
It's about this...
Does he poison chocolate on
No,
Halloween?
so Candyman is like, if you say his name 5 times in the mirror, he appears. But that sounds goofy.
I'm
But when you
scrunching
actually,
my nose up at him.
yeah, that sounds goofy. But when you actually watch the movie, it's like this really like beautiful like tragedy movie, you know. And I don't want to spoil it for you because the tragedy is like a twist, you know.
Okay.
But it's a great movie, beautiful cinematography. Philip Glass does the soundtrack.
Okay.
And it's amazing. Tony Todd delivers a beautiful performance as Candyman. And
What else has he been in?
if
know
I just
Tony
show
Todd.
you like a picture.
Show
of
me
him.
his face.
Yeah.
That will be easier. If I recognize his face, then maybe.
He's in all the Final Destination movies except for number 4, which is good because that's the shit one.
He's not the guy that goes, Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
No,
That's just a different...
that's a completely
man.
different black man. That guy also, like, is younger.
Well, he would have been younger previously.
What, in the movie Jason Bourne made 4 years ago?
I don't know
That's
which
that's
Jason
where
Bourne
Jesus
film.
Jesus Christ is Jason Bourne. It comes from the movie Jason Bourne.
Oh, I thought that would come from, I don't know, one of the other ones.
Nah.
That came
No,
out
no.
in like fucking
So
2002.
the reason why he says Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne, is because Jason Bourne's supposed to be dead.
Is because he looks different now. He looks like
Yeah.
Jeremy Renner for some reason.
No, because that's the 4th one. Matt Damon came back for the 5th one. That's the one where they say Jesus Christ, it's Jason Bourne.
Don't
And
wee-wee all over my joke.
Jeremy Renner doesn't play Jason Bourne. He plays a different guy.
He plays... It's like Bond, where Jason Bourne's just like a title.
It's not like Bond. It's a different guy. It's called the Bourne Legacy because he's playing a different character because he's not Jason Bourne.
His name's Jim Bourne.
It's not like James Bond where they actually are playing the same character.
No, it's
Speaking
not.
of which,
No,
there's
it's
a new...
a different... No, it's...
Speaking of James Bond, there's a new James Bond movie coming out
Is
this
Idris
year.
Elba going to be Bond?
No! No one's been confirmed playing James Bond after Daniel Craig. This very well could just be the last James Bond movie, the way they're showing it off in trailers, and the fact that the title is No Time to Die. And it's like, this is the longest Bond movie ever made at 2 hours and 43 minutes.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of Bond.
This could be the last Bond movie.
I want him to have sex with like 5 different women, all with stupider and stupider names.
Yeah. Well, at least they're going back to having him with a goofy car with guns in it. That'll be fun.
Yeah.
And this movie looks like it'll be really pretty.
I mean, we've had about 20 years of like hyper serious, you know, this is a real action movie Bond.
Exactly.
Because I suppose that like
Yeah.
Austin Powers
it's funny
and
that,
Johnny
like-
English made silly spy movie.
Well, it's funny that that like with James Bond, Daniel Craig's like he's been Bond for the longest period of time,
Yeah.
But
Produced the fewest movies.
well, no, Timothy Dalton had no. Actually, the guy who played him in On Her Majesty's
George Lazenby.
That's it, George
One
Lazenby.
film.
He had one film. Timothy Dalton had 2 films, and then Pierce Brosnan had like 5 movies as well, I think.
Well, because Lazenby was an
Model.
from Australia, and
Yeah.
they were like, be Bond.
Yeah. No, this will be Daniel Craig's 5th and final James Bond movie.
The name's Bond. James
The name's
Bond.
Bond. Jimmy Bond.
The name's Bogan.
I want a Aussie James Bond movie now.
I don't want
James Bogan. No, not James Bogan. But I do want an Aussie James Bond movie. I will make it if it
I want
doesn't happen.
Shane Jacobson to be Bond. I want him to be 45 and overweight.
No, I want No,
I
actually,
want Carl
Shane,
Barron
honestly,
to be James
honestly,
Bond.
Shane Jacobson like playing like an old spy would be very funny.
Stephen Curry.
Yeah, Stephen Curry actually. Yeah.
Hugh Jackman.
Uh,
Eric Banner. He's been like Agent Man.
yeah,
isn't
like I go for Hugh Jackman just because I don't know, he's too Americanized now.
he? He's too immediately recognizable. He's like, oh,
There's
him.
that, and just the fact that I don't know, he doesn't scream Aussie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's done more movies where he has an American or Canadian accent than he has done movies with his normal Aussie accent.
Yeah,
He's probably done more movies with a British accent than he has with an Australian accent.
yeah, probably.
But like at least Eric Bana, he kind of goes between doing American and Australian films. He's going to do one out called The Dry, which is Australian, and that one actually doesn't look bad.
All right, I stand by fucking Stephen Curry.
Stephen Curry, I want to see more.
Koenigan for Bond.
I want to see more serious movies with Stephen Curry in them because he was in a movie called.
The Castle.
No, he was in a movie called Hounds of Love where he plays like a kidnapper. So there's that. He's an actor that I really want to work with.
He was
Stephen
in
Curry.
Shit My Dad Says or whatever that show is. where he's
Also
just
coming out
crotchety.
this year, we've got two big movies for Mr. Keanu Reeves.
Oh yeah,
We've got-
Wholesome 100 Chungus.
For Keanu Reeves, this fella over here that Ben has on a pillow.
They can't see.
But yeah, I know. But that's why I described it as Ben has him on a pillow.
Take a picture of it.
Yeah, I will. But Ben has a pillow with Keanu Reeves' face on
Put
it.
it in the thumbnail.
I will. And Keanu Reeves is in 2 big movies coming out this year. New John Wick and new Matrix movies. Actually, John Wick might have been pushed to 2022. I can't remember. But both John Wick and Matrix 4. So he's got those 2 coming up. King Kong versus Godzilla.
King
which
Kong versus my dong.
I think that'll be fun. A new Conjuring movie. That could be good or bad. I don't really know because they don't have James Wan making it.
When you conjure my
Mortal
dong,
Kombat. Mortal Kombat. New Mortal Kombat movie.
Is it going to be schlocky?
I think it'll be good. They've got a good cast.
I want it to be dumb.
James Wan is James Wan is producing it.
I want it to be over the top.
This is like the first movie to be shot in Adelaide.
I want Kylie Minogue to wear even less.
That was Street Fighter. Kylie Minogue was in Street Fighter, not Mortal Kombat. Shh. No, I think this will be. Well, I think it'll be like, it'll take itself more seriously, but it'll obviously. I hope it won't take the fun out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, at the very least, the action should be good because they've got. And I think the movie should be good. It's got some of my favorite actors in it.
I want it to be Grindhouse. I want it to be so over the top that
It
it's
won't
stupid.
be that. It won't be Grindhouse, but it can still be over the top.
Well,
The gore will definitely be over the top.
well
It
what
won't
would
be
make it not Grindhouse?
Grindhouse implies that it's going like 80s vibes or 70s vibes, But just being over the top gory doesn't have to be Grindhouse.
Like Planet Terror is
Yeah, 'cause
not
it's
80s
No, but it's literally like
in a film called Grindhouse.
it's literally emulating Grindhouse films, so that's not a good example. What's an over the top gory modern film that you think takes inspiration from Grindhouse? Mortal Kombat would be like more influenced by like martial arts films, I think. So maybe Grindhouse martial arts films, they exist.
Grindhouse.
Yeah. Look at you going back and making a callback joke. So Joe Taslim, who is a really good Indonesian actor.
Taslim, I don't even know him.
was Josh Lawson's in it.
Really?
Yeah, he plays Kano.
Well, where's he been? Last time I saw him on like Thank God You're Here.
Yeah.
Made a film called.
One of my favorite Japanese actors, Tadanobu Asano. He's playing Raiden.
Oh,
That's cool.
he's the one with the sharp
Yeah,
hat.
Joe Taslim plays Sub-Zero. Josh Lawson plays Kano. Jessica McNamee plays Sonya Blade.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, Hiroyuki Sanada. He's also a very good actor.
Ah, yes. He played Pram Strungulon.
I like that name. Pram Strungulon.
That's a Star Wars name.
That sounds like a Star Wars name.
I just invented it then.
We should make an entire Disney Plus show about what's his name? Tarn Strungulon.
About Pram Strungulon.
So new Mission Impossible comes out this year as well.
That's impossible.
Oh my god. It is. Fuck.
Don't start. I'll
No.
retaliate.
There's a one. I think I sent you the trailer for this, but there's one that looks really good called The Green Knight.
Like Gawain in The Green Knight.
Yeah.
Yes.
That stars Dev Patel as Gawain.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
Yeah. I really like the poster. It's like different, you know.
Ah,
It's cool.
yeah.
The trailer's good. It's got a really good trailer, and it's directed by David Lowery, who's done like 2 really good movies that I've seen. A Ghost Story, which is like this slow pace kind of like ghost movie where the main character doesn't say anything,
Oh,
and is is literally like a sheet ghost, you know?
he's just a guy under a bed sheet,
Yeah. But the movie still manages to be really good and like heartwarming and stuff. It's amazing.
and then he turns up at the KKK rally, and you go, "Oh,
Oh no. And then he also made a movie called The Old Man and the Gun, which is Robert Redford's last movie.
oh,
Where
okay."
he plays
The gun.
he plays a really old man who likes to rob banks.
Oh, great.
And that's just what he does it. He doesn't do it for like financial stability. He just does it because he
fun.
likes it. You know? He
Yes,
just
I like
does it because
that.
it's funny.
He does it for the clout.
Yeah, he does it for the bit, for the vine. He does it for the vine.
Do it for the man.
And so they're very different kinds of movies. Like A Ghost Story is this like slow paced, kind of pensive, like reflection on life and death and stuff. And then The Old Man and the Gun is just kind of this fun little modern, like Western-ish crime comedy, you know? With,
Hey, sweetie, I'm gonna need you to fill this bag full
like-
of money. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'm gonna have to shoot you. But don't be slow about it. I've got dinner at the Schmeigels at 6.
That's not too far off. Like
Thank you.
He comes in and he's like, "Gun, give me money." imagine if you walked into a bank and you like had a gun that it could be loaded on. You just like show them, "Gun, give me money, give me money." And what would you do if you worked in a bank? What would you do if while working in Woolworths someone came up with nothing, but they come up to the register and they showed you a gun and they just go, "Give me money."
Well, I'm afraid I'd have to give him money.
Yeah.
Yeah, they teach you that. They're basically like, yeah, if someone fucking threatens you, just give him the money.
Yeah.
Like, all right,
You wouldn't laugh at him for saying, "Give me money" in a funny voice.
maybe it would depend.
He's got a gun. Would you laugh in his face or would you like try to stifle it?
I would probably not try and not laugh at him because I don't know how he would take it. I don't know if he's being like funny on purpose, like if it's a public performance, if it's like it's a social experiment, if Joey Salads is actually trying to rob me.
You just been pranked by the Pranker Patrol.
Hey!
Yeah. If you like,
Scott Tweedy, then you'll love this.
what if you get robbed like at Woolworths, and then 2 entire days later, you find out that it was like just a prank.
It was a prank, bruh.
And it was a prank on Prank Patrol, and they're going to broadcast it on TV in a week. How would you take it? You've been traumatized for 2 days for having someone stick a gun in your face and rob you.
I'd be upset that I didn't get Scott Tweedy's signature.
Yeah, no, he's the one telling you that you were pranked 2 days ago. Would you punch Scott Tweedy in the face for making you live through that for 2 days?
I'd shit myself.
You would shit yourself. You would lose dignity.
Out of just sheer outrage, I would just fill my pants.
And then you would pick it up out of your pants and smear it on Scott Tweedy's smug face
And then I would vor him.
through your anus.
Yeah, I would anal vor him.
You would suck back up the poo alongside Scott Tweedy. No, you because you're sucking back the poo, his face is caught in the suction.
My rectum would open like a vortex, and I would consume all of aisle 5 backwards.
This has taken a strange turn. That is the opposite of vor.
I burped.
Farting, the opposite of war. Yeah, that's your advertisement for farts.
And now they're going to pay me money.
And I guess the only other movie I'm excited for at the moment this year, there's going to be a new Saw, a new Halloween, a new A Quiet Place, new Kingsman, new Evangelion, which is going to be exciting. New Fast and Furious.
More like Farts and Furious.
I like the Fast and Furious movies from 5 onwards.
I've only seen the first one, and it was really boring.
Yeah. No, I'm not a huge fan of the first one. Like, it's honestly 5... Like, I mean, 4's okay. 4's, like, watchable. But it's really 5 onwards that they start to become entertaining for me.
They get silly.
5 is the best one, I think. 5 is the best one. It's got this great scene where they are literally driving 2 cars attached to a massive safe. Like, that's how they steal the money.
Yeah.
They just pull the safe out of the bank with these 2 armored supercars. And it's like this really good like car chase.
That sounds funny.
And there are like, they did it practically too.
Yeah.
As in there are some shots, like the corridor crew talked about this, that there are some shots where there's just like a car inside the safe, and they're using that to make sure the safe is like doing its stunts safely.
Yeah.
But then there are some scenes where the safe is just this big block, and they're dragging it around the road. Now, obviously safely, but there's a scene where it crashes through this shop.
Yeah.
And there are stunt people in that shop that have to narrowly avoid this tumbling massive safe.
They get run over by the safe.
Like, they did it once because it was so dangerous. And someone could have been injured.
Yeah.
But it, like, no one was, which is good. And it made the shots look great, you know?
Yeah.
Because it was done for real and not with CGI.
Yeah. And now it's going to look good forever.
Exactly.
Like Star Wars.
Yeah. And so that's I'm looking for, like, Justin Lin, who did like the best Fast and Furious movies, took a break, and now he's come back for the new one.
Right.
So hopefully this one will come back to being like a really good one, you know?
Yeah.
He's responsible for some of the best Fast and Furious movies. James Wan also did another one of the really good ones.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping this one will be like one of the best, you know? And it's got John Cena in it. So he's playing John
Cena.
He's playing Vin Diesel's brother in this movie.
John Diesel.
So yeah.
Vin Cena.
So those are the movies coming out this year, and then I'll just quickly list off my favorite movies. We'll end the podcast with my top 20 movies of 2020.
Okay.
Because I didn't watch as many new releases this year as I do the last couple of years, because one, there wasn't as many, and also I was busy catching up on other movies.
Yeah.
But I've seen more movies this year than any other year.
Yeah.
You know?
I was too busy counting my freckles in order to see movies.
Like, I've seen a total of like 433 movies, feature films too, this year.
Feature length motion
Like, that's
picture.
not even counting the short films that I've watched this last year. Yeah. I'm hoping to, you know, exceed that this year and just watch more than that.
Like, you watched that short movie about like the baby and the tin soldier, and he crawls under the couch. You just watched that like 45 times.
Yeah. So my top 20 movies currently of 2020.
Yep.
This can change as time goes on.
Yeah. I won't hold you to it. That's fine.
The list, like, I've stopped. That's one of the main reasons I stopped doing those top blank list videos at the end of every year. Because well, there's the laziness and the fact that my lists would constantly change. Like, I made that top 10 of 2014 before I watched Birdman. And then Birdman took the top spot.
That was a jazz mistake.
Exactly. So if you want to, like, I'm gonna
If you want to
advertise my Letterboxd again. Letterboxd.com/Nick Owens.
You can subscribe for.
You can follow me.
$5.
No, following me is free.
No.
I pay to use this website, but just for certain features, and it's literally $1 a month, so it's fine. Features that I use this website so much that I think it's only right that I support them financially.
They give you a shit shower and shave kit for while you watch your movies.
Anyway, so this list will vary, and I'm sure, like, if you follow my list, any changes you'll see. So, number 1, The Lighthouse. So I should clarify, some of these movies will be listed as like 2019 movies, but they came out in Australia in 2020. Like, fucking The Lighthouse came out in February. That's a month into 2020. It's too late for it to be a 2019 movie for me. Yeah. And so there are already so many great movies in 2019 and so few great movies in 2020 that I thought only natural that I would keep some of these in this list. Yes. So number 1, The Lighthouse. Number 2, Uncut Gems.
Good.
Number 3, The Invisible Man. Number 4, I'm Thinking of Ending Things. Number 5, Da 5 Bloods. Number 6, Mank. Number 7, Chunky Shrapnel. Number 8, Justice League Dark Apocalypse War. Number 9, Color Out of Space. Number 10, Daniel Isn't Real. Number 11, Tenet. Number 12, The Gentleman. Number 13, Birds of Prey or the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn. Number 14, The Platform. Number 15, Host. Number 16, Emma. Number 17, His House. Number 18, Superman, Man of Tomorrow. Number 19, I See You. And number 20, She Dies Tomorrow. So those are my top 20 favorite films. But, I mean, like, some honorable mentions.
Is she okay?
Some honorable mentions. Scare Me, Arch Enemy, Underwater, Sonic the Hedgehog, and The Devil All the Time, and, like, the Konosuba movie. Richard Jewell was pretty good, too.
Straczynski and the Magical House.
That's the movie with Michael in it. So I'm looking forward to this year, just in general. Like this week's been pretty shit for America, but I'm hoping this year's gonna be good. I'm working on a web series in January. I'm making a music video in February, maybe a short film in March, and on and on. I hope to make just more stuff in general this year. Yeah, so that's it. Is there anything else you're looking forward to this year?
No.
Okay.
Happy New Year from your temporary uncles. I hope you have an epic year full of funnies and monies and that you don't do a poo in front of your crush like you did in 2020. My New Year's resolution is for you to follow Temp Uncles on Twitter and send cool emails to tempuncles@gmail.com.